Welcome back, everybody. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day today. And today we're going to be talking about the Rise of Skywalker and some of the plot holes that it created for the sequels. If you guys haven't seen Rise of Skywalker, there will be spoilers in this video. So fair warning, click off if you haven't seen it, or we're just going to dive right into it and just go watch the movie if you haven't. All right. So with the conclusions of the sequel trilogy, we are left with more questions than we started with. But it also left Star Wars in a really weird place with many plot holes that leave the prequels in question. So the sequels were supposed to connect the entire saga, but it actually did quite the opposite. Today I wanted to cover a specific plot hole that emerged during episode 9, and that is the forceability of force healing. Now I did make a specific video on force healing a few days before the movie even came out, so it was really cool to see that in the movie. I didn't even know it was going to be in it. So I'll put the link to that video in the description and at the end if you want a little bit more of an explanation on it. So like I said, it was cool to see the power being used by both Kylo and Rey, but it leaves the question, why didn't we see this power being used in the prequels when thousands of Jedi were being killed? And especially with some of our favorite characters. First of all, I think the Rise of Skywalker needed to go over the top on the force abilities and battle scenes in order to please the fans, and we did get that with force healing and force drain along with a few others, but I think it was used just a little too much. The only time, in my opinion, I think it should have been used is when Kylo used it to transfer his essence into Rey, kind of like Anakin did in the Clone Wars with the daughter and Ahsoka. With Rey and Kylo and also Baby Yoda all knowing how to use force healing, you have to ask yourself, why couldn't Obi-Wan use it to save Qui-Gon, or maybe Yoda use it to restore Anakin's hand after his battle with Dooku? So we're going to go through all the possible explanations on why they couldn't or didn't, and if it was just poor writing and implementation of the power. Starting with the death of Qui-Gon at the hands of Darth Maul, Obi-Wan should have known some way to even use a basic form of force healing to close the wound or even revive his master. Now, we have to remember Obi-Wan was a Padawan at this time, but we also know Qui-Gon believed he was strong enough to take the trials and become a Jedi Knight. In Legends, all students at the Jedi Academy were taught the most basic forms of healing. Qui-Gon was stabbed through his torso, though, causing a fatal wound that the young Padawan was just not knowledgeable enough to heal. So that kind of ties that together. He just wasn't strong enough, and it was just too bad of a wound for him to heal. Let's move to episode 2, where young Anakin Skywalker now battles the fallen Jedi Count Dooku. After Dooku cuts his hand off and pushes him back into Obi-Wan, Master Yoda shows up around the corner to save the two Jedi. So why wasn't Yoda able to use his force healing abilities to regenerate and heal Anakin's hand? Now this is more of a gray area. We don't have any real answers, so we're gonna have to do some theorizing here. We know Yoda is one of the most powerful and wisest Jedi to ever live, so he most certainly has the ability to use the force heal to its fullest. In Legends, that ability was to resurrect yourself and others from death. Maybe he wanted to leave the young Padawan scarred to show him not to be so reckless in battle. That could be a possibility, but the odds that Master Yoda couldn't heal him were pretty slim, you know. He should have the ability, but even in Legends, it's unclear if he ever did, so we don't really know. Now, there were Jedi healers during the Clone Wars, as we saw with Barriss Offee. Unfortunately, there was just very few Jedi who could revive or even heal fatal wounds at that time. In Legends, after the creation of the new Jedi Order, Luke Skywalker had his Jedi learn force healing and even become Jedi healers. That leads us to Revenge of the Sith. So why couldn't Padme or Anakin be saved? Let's start with Anakin. He was burned extremely badly. He was essentially put on life support for the rest of his life, right? So why couldn't Sidious heal him? He was just as powerful as Yoda. But force healing is a light side ability. The Sith think inwards, only of themselves. They possess the power to only heal themselves, as we saw with the force drain ability Sidious used in Rise of Skywalker. Now, Palpatine could have used other methods to heal Vader, but we know that he purposely made him be in pain. The Dark Lord never wanted his apprentice to become strong enough to overthrow him. That's why his suit was made the way it was. After he was cut down at the hands of Obi-Wan, Vader had lost so much of his potential Sidious wanted. Now, if Obi-Wan brought Anakin back to Yoda, he could have most likely healed him, but again, we're unsure if force healing can even regenerate body parts or not. So what about Padme? Why didn't Anakin or Obi-Wan and Yoda use force heal on her to save her during childbirth? Well, it's simple. Padme didn't die from complications of health. She died from a broken heart. Now, yes, Vader did choke her, but not to the point of death. The medical droid clearly states that she is perfectly healthy when delivering Luke and Leia, but she was still dying. Palpatine does tell Vader that he killed Padme, but he did that to cause more hatred and rage and completely remove him from his former self. So after all that, it leaves us with how the hell is Baby Yoda, Rey, and Kylo able to use Force Heal with little to no training so effectively? Now, Baby Yoda is the exception to the rule of making sense in general. He can do whatever he wants because he is a part of Yoda's species, and they are the most mysterious and powerful things in Star Wars. I had no problem with Baby Yoda knowing this ability, but that means Yoda certainly knows how to if it's just a baby form of his own species. What about good old Rey? Now, there's obviously a lot of mixed emotions with her character, and people are pretty pissed off at how powerful she has been. I understand the complaints, and I have a few for myself from episodes 7 and 8, but in 9 it's a little bit of a different scenario here. She has the ancient Jedi texts, whatever Luke wrote down for her, and she now has Leia as her teacher. So it doesn't really justify her being so powerful from episodes 7 and 8, but it does make sense in episode 9. I mean, if I was in her position, I would read and learn as much as possible to become as strong as possible. You know, I would do the same thing, so I don't really have any problem with that. Kylo's the one I really can't wrap my head around entirely. The fact that he's a Skywalker makes him one of the most powerful Force users alive, but that alone just doesn't give him the ability to use Transfer Force, which is an extreme form of Force healing, which is a light side ability. For years, he was a dark side user. Now, I know he was back and forth in his thoughts, and he wasn't truly a Sith or on the dark side, but still, I don't really like it, you know? It doesn't make sense for him to turn back to the light side and within an hour be able to use such a powerful ability and then turn into a Force ghost. You know, that's a different problem I had. We're not going to get into it in this video, though. Now, don't get me wrong, it was absolutely amazing, and I'm glad Kylo's character got such an important and heavy scene, but it didn't make too much sense. Now, I mean, he could have read books and text like Rey did and learned it that way, but I mean, come on, any Jedi before the Clone Wars could have done the exact same thing. They have access to teachings at any time and masters that could help them achieve it. Yet, we didn't see it be used or even really heard of in the prequels other than when Anakin used it. So, what do I think of them using Force healing? I think it was okay. Like I said, it was really cool to see it in the movies, but Kylo should have been the only one to use it as our last resort to save Rey's life. Does it make sense? No, it doesn't really, but did any of the movie make sense? Let's be honest, it contradicts so much of the movies that came before it. I don't know, it should have been an ability we saw Yoda use at least once, or even got a little bit of an understanding of how both of them were able to use it at such a high level. I mean, they used the strongest abilities possible, pretty much. Nonetheless, guys, that's going to be the video. I did really love episode 9, and I know it has so many flaws when you dissect the movie, but hey, it's what we got, and we're just gonna have to move on from it now. Let me know what you guys think of them using Force healing in the comments section down below, and if you think it causes plot holes for the prequels. And if you guys want to see more Star Wars and nerd videos in the future, definitely hit that subscribe button. And as always, if you did enjoy the video, if you could hit that like button for me, I would greatly appreciate it. It helps spread the video out to other people that could also enjoy it as well. I will see you guys in the next video. I hope you guys had a happy holidays. Have a great rest of your day. I'll see you all later.